T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff. Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Yes, sir. Hey, fellas, you know, it's almost Halloween time, so here's something for you. How do you fix a broken pumpkin?
Give up.
Well, it's easy with a pumpkin patch, of course.
Oh, yes.
All right, on with the show, sports and other stuff. Thanks for tuning in. It's NFL Week 6. The Eagles are still undefeated. Some teams are breaking away, while others are tanking, maybe? Well, good to see you, boys. But first, Lugs, the NFL season is 1/3 over. Can you believe that? Are things where you thought they'd be? How are you tonight? What's happening? Go ahead.
Well, I'm not sure there, because I had Denver winning outright. So I've got to reconfigure that. I just want to say, by the way, speaking of that game, Chargers in Denver, I got to give a Band-Aid award to Dustin Hopkins. I mean, the man's got a right leg that's about to fall off, and he still manages 4 field goals. I mean, when he came out for that fourth one, I was like, seriously, man, you got to get a golf cart to get him out there. So my hat's off to him. And I think that was the swan song for Nathaniel Hackett. It definitely has to be. There's something wrong because that defense held up pretty much. I mean, think about it. Herbert didn't have a touchdown pass. That's absolutely amazing, which caused one of the betting DraftKings, I think they lost their backside on that whole thing because they had this even bet that he would. So anyway, that was my initial take from last night.
I'm just impressed we're starting off with that game of all the games, but what a lead off.
They'll keep you tuned in. Are you still there? Are you still there?
I guess to mop up on that one, to be fair, I understand why there was a prop bet. I believe in Herbert, Herbert had thrown at least a touchdown pass in every game he's played in. So it broke his streak, I believe, of 26. So, that's something. But just the Broncos have just really locked into knowing how to get into these kicker duels, which is really, I guess, something to be respected in some way. The other part that was just troubling was Russell Wilson. That first half started so hot. I believe he threw for over 170 yards and a touchdown in that first half. And he finished with 188 yards passing with a second half and most of it overtime. So it's, how do you only have like 15 yards? What happened? He threw 15 yards and a half.
Well, and did you know that Russell's only run 14 times this whole season? There's something wrong there.
Well, yeah. As it came out now, he supposedly has a hamstring injury, which I'm not saying isn't legitimate, but this is the second game in a row where they lost in a kicker's duel, and he's come out with an injury. Next, it'll be, his neck's broken.
Because it is Russell Wilson, right? This is Russell Wilson.
This is the guy who wanted to cook, and right now, it's a bunch of hot pockets. He's cooking.
Okay.
So,
question.
Anyway,
Mr. Walton, is it Mike or Mark, the new owner of the Broncos?
I don't know. He is of the Walton family.
Okay.
And all I know about the Walton family is they own Walmarts and they all sleep in the same bed and say goodnight to each other before getting shut out.
Okay, John Boy, just a minute. He's worth $70 billion. Did you guys know that's the most worth of any NFL owner in history? So how long is he going to put up with this stuff with Nathaniel, Mr. Hackett?
Like I'll put it this way, just real quick, and I'll let Lugs finish. I think I've already said he'll make it to the end of the year. I think just because they just bought the team, they're assessing the situation. I think they'll allow him to make it to the end of the year, and then he will be fired. Barring one of the most miraculous turnarounds that we'll ever see, he will be fired. They can't get out of Russ. Hopefully Russ just gets better in his second year, but they can't get out from underneath this Russ thing. There's no team that's going to bail him out. So,
well, now we can go to an actual football game and not a chess match.
Not an exhibition.
Kansas City and Buffalo.
Oh man,
that was one where it was like the last guy to have the ball. That was going to be it. I was impressed by everybody. I think Josh Allen had a little bit better help, and that he pulled a Lamar when he basically just jumped straight over that. I think it was a linebacker, or it may have been a defensive back. But anyway, so that one, but that may decide a lot of things just because of way the season's going to play out. That was a good game. That was like the future of the NFL right there. Impressive.
Oh yeah. It's some people have said it. It is true. I mean, we don't have to go far back for any of us, but it is the new Brady Manning. Allen versus Mahomes is the new Brady Manning. So, and both teams showed it. I mean, they were trying to pull off things that obviously both those guys can do uncanny things, but they were definitely pushing it to the limit at points in that game. I think Mahomes pushed it a little too much because both those picks he had that were killers, I mean, they were just bad throws. I mean, on that first drive, he threw into double coverage in the end zone and it got picked off. They could have got 3 points, which you look at what the final score is. Obviously, that could have been critical if they just got 3 points there. And then on that last drive they had, he tried to hit Sky Moore, but it's like he didn't see Terrence Johnson coming down, who was just sitting, I think, in his zone, reading his eyes, and just jumped the route and got the interception to ice the game. And I just think, like you said, Lugs, I think he has, better talent around him. Gabe Davis and obviously Stephon Diggs. Mm-hmm. Stephon Diggs is, obviously the Travis Kelce for Josh Allen to, Mahomes or whatever. And both those touchdown passes he had, his first 2 touchdown passes, again, credit to Josh Allen and credit to Ken Dorsey, their offensive coordinator. They were able to scheme up Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis against a rookie cornerback, Joshua Williams, on both those touchdowns. Like, to be fair to a rookie, to be thrust into a game, because I think the corner was injured. They were able to get him one-on-one with that guy. And just, Stephon Diggs, just with how savvy he is and athletic, and Gabe Davis is just a natural freak. That's not a good situation to be put in. So, like, that was a good call by Allen and, like I said, Dorsey and Von Miller. I know they paid him a lot of money, but I mean, he had 2 sacks on Mahomes, but particularly one that was crucial when they had the ball and they could have gone up 24-17, the Chiefs. He was able to get the sack and allowed the Chiefs just to settle for a field goal to only put them up 20-17. And like Lug said, that last drive, touchdown drive, Josh Allen showed everything, where you saw his running ability, leaping over a guy, and then the score that put him ahead for good. You watch that Dawson Knox throw. One, his ability to see where the coverage was. He's telling Dawson to change his route. And if you watch that throw, he puts it right over the fingertips, I believe, of a corner DB, and the coverage was good on Dawson Knox, but that throw was just perfect to the sideline. So even if Dawson Knox doesn't catch it, I think it goes out of bounds. Just an impressive display by both quarterbacks in general. Both teams understanding the magnitude, because whoever wins this game probably gets the number 1 seed in the AFC. And yes, it was definitely probably the best game to date in the NFL this year.
So 1/3 of the season being gone, are the Bills the best team in the NFL?
I would have to say so at this point, for sure. I mean, in all aspects, and I hate to jinx them here, they're healthy. It's like this past weekend, San Francisco had 11 starters were out. 11 starters. I mean, it's crazy to think that you're less than 2 months into a very long season and you've got people injured like that. So, but yeah, I think the Bills are it. I would put the Chiefs right behind them.
And how about the Eagles at 6-0?
They're impressive. That game against the Cowboys, Jalen Hurts is legitimately coming into his own, but Cooper Rush almost brought it back. If Cooper Rush had brought them back and won that game, there wouldn't be any question for me that he would start the next game, not Dak. But now I think it'll be Dak.
T-Dog shaking his head.
I don't agree with that. I mean, look, Cooper Rush definitely played better in the second half, but they were put in that hole because he threw 3 picks. And credit to the Eagles. This is what good teams on a rookie quarterback contract do. They have all this extra money they can do because they haven't invested so much money.
True.
They redid that whole secondary. They got Darius Slay. They got the corner from the Rams, and they also got Bradbury, who was cut by the Giants to free up cap space. They got, in total, those guys got 3 picks that allowed the Eagles to get an early lead. But to be fair to Lug's point, credit to the Cowboys, they were able to come back. Great drive to start the second half, and they were able to get it within 17-20, and then Eagles, were able to answer and score a touchdown to ice it. But I will say this: the Eagles are clearly the team to watch for in the NFC. Obviously, they're the last undefeated team in the league. That being said, with how well they were competitively without Dak Prescott, and if Dak Prescott can get back to where we think he operates, maybe the Eagles aren't the team of the NFC.
That's a dogfight, isn't it? Yep.
I mean, Dallas put up a fight without their best quarterback, and Gallup is just getting back, and I think this offensive line is just starting to gel. So I don't know. It's definitely clearly Eagles, and I think now it is Dallas because we'll get into the Bucks, who were supposed to be the team out of the South. The Packers, who were supposed to be the team out of the North.
Darn it.
And to be fair, J-Boy already kind of hinted at it. At least this one you can be brushed off more so than the other ones. 49ers, just because of all the guys in the infirmary, or Lug said, all the guys in the infirmary, it's understandable why maybe the 49ers are 500 right now. But those other 2 teams, the Packers and Bucks, they have serious issues that I don't think will be solved by guys just coming back, getting healthy.
Yeah, well, especially the Packers. It's like Rodgers is doing what Rodgers does, which is he doesn't really want to work with those young receivers, and he needs to. I saw that post-game press conference where he said, well, we're going to have to simplify things. You're as simplified as you can get, and they still know what you're doing. I do not understand why they don't run the ball. I mean, they've got 2 great runners, and I just don't get it. I don't. Maybe the offensive line can't run block, but I don't believe that. I mean, Bakhtiari certainly can. So it's going to be a long season for the Pack. That division may end up being the weakest, and Minnesota should be able to take it. I mean, easily.
Yeah, I mean, don't you think that Rodgers not practicing with those guys in the preseason, if I remember right, and just kind of strolling in, and these guys, it seems like it's and then their defense is tanked quite a bit too, not what people expected. So 3-3 is a rough hole to get out of when you're already two games down in the division.
Yeah, it's a tough out right there. Go ahead, dog.
Oh, I was just going to kind of echo something J-Boy said. Like, besides Aaron Rodgers, and again, I know we are always hypercritical of him, and I'm not saying that he isn't a part of the problem. I think he is part of the problem, but at least you can understand where their offensive line isn't playing as well as they usually do. Credit to Green Bay. They usually draft and develop offensive linemen well. It feels like at least this year that's not coming to pass. And the other thing that they usually have is at least 1 or 2 reliable wide receivers. I mean, obviously, you know, Devontae Adams doesn't come along a lot, but they usually have one. They don't have a credible, and you know, during this game, Randall Cobb got injured. His one safety blanket that he trusted.
Right.
So now it looks like might be Robert Tunyon, who's coming a year off of like a severe like injury to his leg. So it's like, but what J Boy pointed out too is like, to me, when you look at the roster of talent they have on defense, the only other unit that is disappointing is Green Bay to me. When you look at just the sheer talent, is the Cleveland, and maybe I'm being too apologetic to the players. I feel a lot of that comes down to coaching, because to have that much talent and for them to be that bad, you're not putting on a position to win. And I don't know what's going on there. Again, that can be at least changed fairly quickly. You could fire the guy, or change the way they implement their talent. Both those teams have too much talent to be as bad as they are on defense. I'll just put it that way.
Well, and speaking of Cleveland, I love that game, baby. Did our man Belichick must just circle Cleveland. He must still have bad blood from all those years ago. And my boy Zappy, I like that kid. He did well. He did. Hell, I think he's better than Hoyer, certainly. And he's on a par with Mac Jones, and a little bit more accurate with his throwing. I was impressed with the kid. I had to watch it just because, he's our guy. The Hilltoppers, baby.
Go Tops, baby. Go Toppers. Yeah. Woo. Directional schools unite. Go ahead, T-Dog. Go ahead. WKU.
Well, I mean, again, Zappy, like Cooper Rush, I don't think he's as good as Mac Jones. That being said, I think Bailey Zappe is better than Cooper Rush. I think he is fairly legitimate. Like I said, I know the two teams he's played against. I know he wasn't asked to do it against the Lions, but the Lions secondary is bad. And like I said, Cleveland has a lot of talent, but for whatever reason, they don't know how to use it. But Zappe played well. He moved the ball. He distributed the ball a lot. He actually had a passing touchdown called back, so he should have had 3. But he just, again, the one thing I will give him on Mac Jones, even though I think Mac Jones is better, he definitely scans the field and has a better understanding of where everyone is, which is crazy because he's a rookie. This is Mac Jones's second year. Even though it's a new offensive coordinator, they're using the same offensive system, I believe. And he definitely seems to understand like where he's supposed to go, if like this is nixed out, he knows this is a second read or this is his hot route or whatnot. He has a better awareness, it feels, than Mac Jones. And again, this wasn't even a weakness of Mac Jones, but it just feels like Bailey Zappe is better at that. So I will give Bailey Zappe credit on that. And he had some mobility where he eluded the rush and he was able to buy a little time to get certain passes off that you wouldn't think. But and again, I'm not saying they're going to make a Super Bowl run. Yeah, I know they've had a lot of titles up in New England. That being said, you look at these last 2 draft classes for the New England. This team quietly, again, it's so loaded in the AFC, but this team quietly is a very good team. Now they're not going to compete against the true contenders for the crown, but they're gonna beat a lot of teams that aren't the Bills and the Chiefs because that defense is really gelling. Those young corners they drafted this year are coming on. Tyquan Thornton, their rookie, they took in the second round, the wide receiver. He had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. Strange, who everyone laughed at for them taking the guard, he's playing well. And Ramondre Stevenson, a guy they took 2 years ago, running back, like he takes over with Damian Harris out, and like he looks like Corey Dillon from like 2000 and
nice reference, Corey Dillon. All right,
2003, 2004, like New England Patriots. So they are a good team, and like I said, Cleveland, they have a lot of talent. I still think Stefanski's a good coach, but clearly Belichick showed Stefanski. He still sits at the kiddie table.
Well, plus Bailey Zappe has the best name in football since Lugs liked Courvoisier's Smoke. Remember that one?
Oh yeah,
Bailey.
He's still at UK somehow.
Yeah, well, 6th year senior.
He's going into
year.
his 8th year.
Yeah,
It's good. Hey, I was just going to say before we left the NFL East, come on, the Giants.
The Giants.
Daniel Jones, man, he's looking good, and they're winning. I mean, they got one play. Hand it to Saquon. That's all they got, and people still can't stop them. It's crazy to me, but I'm impressed. See, I think at the end of it, I think the Giants will overtake Dallas. But hey, it's just because I'm not a Dallas lover. So I yield the rest of my time to the Baron of Bloomington. Go ahead, T-Dog.
The Baron of Bloomington.
I don't think they'll surpass the Cowboys. And it's mainly, to be fair to
man.
the coaching staff. To be fair, the coaching staff, it's not because of the coaching staff. It's just that they're not overall a talented team. Yeah. And it's not just Saquon on offense. I mean, it's 95% of Saquon on offense.
Okay.
But it looks like Wan'Dale Robinson, who they drafted. Speaking of Kavase Smoke's ex-teammate, who was at UK, Wan'Dale Robinson. They're working him into the after missing a lot of time. He really popped, and mainly because, again, just their play design is great. Is that touchdown for Wan'Dale Robinson? If you looked at it, it was a bunch. And then they did a rub, and Wan'Dale Robinson was wide open to the outside. And then on their next touchdown play, it was Bellinger, their rookie tight end. If you watch it, it was him next to a tight end. The other tight end went vertical, rubbed out the defender who was supposed to be on Bellinger. Bellinger was wide open. So, again, credit to Daniel Jones. I know he is maybe not the long-term solution. And I know if you look at his numbers from the year, they're not overwhelming. I think he has maybe 2 games of over 200 yards passing. But that being said, he's playing very well. And what he did with Josh Allen with the Buffalo Bills, it's not surprising. Brian Daboll is showing, not that you need another sample size, he is legitimate. Like, he is scheming up this team that has Saquon, maybe Wan'Dale Robinson, maybe this Bellinger guy turns into something. And Daniel Jones always has been physically talented, but he didn't have a good O-line. Some of their draft capital is finally starting to pay off on that offensive line. And Daboll, and I want to give Mike Kafka of Northwestern, he's their offensive coordinator who's actually play calling under Daboll. They're skimming things up. They're running out 4 tight ends on certain plays. They're doing a full house where they have 3 running backs in the backfield, Burita, Barkley, and I'm blanking on the other guy. But, they're throwing everything out there because, again, wide receiver outside of maybe Wan'Dale Robinson, they don't trust either some of the guys they have on the team, like Kenny Golladay, they don't want to put out there, or they're just not that talented. So, they're having to come up with these odd things. And it's, like I said, it's fun to watch. On the other side of it, I feel for Lamar because – you just watch that Ravens team. They just don't have enough skill position players. Right. He is so dependent on Mark Andrews. And luckily Mark Andrews is a stud like Lamar. But Bateman being injured, the wide receiver out of University of Minnesota, really does hurt them. He did us so much, just at the very least as a compliment, because it gave him something. And it's understanding today they signed Deshaun Jackson, who's now close to 40, I think, but he probably still has speed. But they need somebody out there. Kenyon Drake really kind of popped on his 10 carries. And I think, they should utilize him more until maybe Gus Edwards gets back. They just need some other things to help Lamar on offense because they just don't have any other things. That being said, as much as I'm going to be an apologist for Lamar, that pick that he threw that set up the lead for the Giants, it was a bad snap. It went over his head, but they were up by 3 points. And as well coached as Giants offense is, they're not that talented. You punt the ball away and you hope your defense, causes them to turn over on downs or they have to punt the ball. I don't understand why he felt it was needed to throw a pass after the play was so botched from the snap.
So quick, Daniel Jones kind of looks like Howdy Doody, doesn't he?
Well, I think he could do a magazine for shirts. He could do modeling for shirts.
J.C. Penney catalog. Okay, and now let me just say this: 6 games into his professional career, would you take Brian Daboll as your coach now versus Mike McCarthy any day? Question, answer.
Well, yeah.
Right.
I mean, come on.
T-Dog,
Mike
yes?
McCarthy's just here for a Subway.
Well, yes. Again,
I mean,
I'm not
seriously.
saying the Cowboys are better because of Mike McCarthy. I'm
But-
saying it's
Why is he there?
well, I mean, look, let's be fair to Mike McCarthy. Look, maybe none of us are all fans. Look, they lost their first game against the Bucks. Dak broke his finger. They had to insert in Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush then goes on to go 4-1 as a starter.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm not saying he's a boy. He did win a Super Bowl as a head coach. He did help redefine Aaron Rodgers
A decade ago.
motion. I know it was a long time ago, but still, he did do these things.
But deep down, Daboll manages a better game than McCarthy now. Does he not? Remember last year?
Oh, yeah.
I'll put it this way. I'm trying to put up for Mike McCarthy and that he's not a total bum. That being said, if you're asking me point blank, who do I want to be my head coach, Brian Daboll, Mike McCarthy, or him? Like, yeah, it's Brian Daboll. I mean,
A total bum. Sorry, that just kind of sticks with me.
See, I think the reason Dallas is competitive now is Dan Quinn, honestly.
Oh.
And Kellen Moore does a decent job of manufacturing plays, especially for Cooper Rush. I mean, they restructured, and Kellen Moore and Cooper Rush were in the quarterback room together, so they know each other really well.
like you said, like you are right. Quinn is the main reason they've been, and if we're really getting down to it, it's just the talent on that defense has really just flourished. So, and mainly Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is that
yes,
it is that generational talent that is so dominant that some of these other guys like Armstrong has 5 sacks in this season. And I'm not saying he's a mediocre talent himself, but like Micah Parsons demands so much attention that it frees up guys one-on-one. So all these other guys are feasting because of Micah. So
plus there's not many players who wear number 11. I like that. 11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just going to say the only thing about Dallas to me is they're not deep. If Parsons and people get injured, I don't know that they've got any talent to come bring in that's even close to that level. I mean, what happens if CeeDee Lamb gets injured? Who do they have?
Well, to be fair, the one talent that they can't lose is Parsons. Everyone else, I'm not saying that you're right, they won't be hampered, but like if CeeDee Lamb goes down, Michael Gallup is there. Noah Brown actually played well in place of Michael Gallup. Again, it's still a loss, to be fair to what you're saying. Obviously, if Ezekiel gets injured, they have Pollard. If Pollard gets injured, they still have Ezekiel. But there is no replacing Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons can play edge rusher, linebacker, corner. I mean, he's a very unique player that doesn't really exist on a lot of teams.
But Lugs, if you get hurt, man. Lugs, if you get hurt, we got nobody, man. If you get hurt.
Yeah, you're our Micah Parsons.
I was just going to say, Michael Gallup, I've never been impressed. I'm sorry. He's the Anthony Davis of the NFL. I mean, he can't stay on the field. I mean, he fell getting out of a cab, didn't he? And so, I mean, it's like this guy is just snake bit when it comes to injuries. So,
well, Michael Gallup told me you're the Jim Gray of broadcasting. So,
wow. Okay. Speaking of, let's do a little sports of yesteryear to get us out of this melodrama, whatever it is. And here comes, Lugs. Get ready with your big sports of yesteryear. We're going to take a break from the NFL. Come back to it just a second. But Lugs is here. He's got some international news from all around the world or something like that. Go ahead, man. Go.
All right. 1902, the 7th Iron Bowl. Auburn beats Alabama 23-zip in Birmingham. 1924, Harold Red Grange was named the Galloping Ghost after scoring 4 touchdowns in the first 12 minutes against the Michigan Wolverines. Grange scored on a 95-yard kickoff return and runs of 67 yards, 56 yards, and 45 yards from scrimmage. He was exhausted then, so he sat out until the third quarter, during which, when he came back, he scored on a 12-yard run, and then he threw a touchdown. So he had 6 touchdowns, so Illinois beats the Wolverines 39-14. 1953, Willie Thrower becomes the first black NFL quarterback in modern times. As a member of the Bears on October 18th, Thrower replaced an ineffective George Blanda, but the Bears still lost to the 49ers at Wrigley Field. 1968, American long jumper Bob Beamon sets an incredible world record of 29 feet, 2.5 inches at the Mexico City Olympics. That was a 22-inch improvement over the previous record. Beamon's record stood for 23 years until it was broken by Mike Powell in 1991. And 1974, Chicago Bulls Nate Thurmond becomes the first player in NBA history to complete a quadruple double with 22 points, 14 rebounds, 13 assists, and 12 blocked shots. Yes, 12 blocked shots. That's it for sports stuff yesteryear.
Okay, that's crazy on many fronts. First of all, you hit us with Red Grange, who scored how many touchdowns? And then Nate Thurmond does a
6.
quadruple double.
Yeah. Yeah.
You, sir, are no
I
Nate
mean-
Thurmond. I mean, that's impressive. That's impressive. Wow.
He was a man among boys on that day.
I remember him. He was a good player. Yeah.
Yeah, he reminded me of Moses Malone. They were both just mean.
Kind of freaks of nature.
This was back when basketball was a full contact sport. I mean, these guys, you didn't want to wander inside over there. You'd catch an elbow in the chops. So,
Hey, back to the big news of the NFL now. Just something real quick here. We're starting to see some bow wow games to me, like the Bears and Commodores on Thursday Night Prime. Did you notice that? It was a horrible game. But get
Yeah.
this. Thursday night ratings are up 30% from last year. Come on. How's that
Wow.
possible? How's that possible?
That's the Al Michael bump.
Ooh. Or I thought it was Herb Street bringing them in.
no, come on.
That,
It's Fitz. Come on.
It's Fitz.
Fitz in the
Fitzpatrick
pregame.
the beard. Is it it's not Richard Sherman telling everyone to run the ball
I know.
after every post
Run
game.
the ball.
And
Run
it's like
the ball.
particularly for that Commodores Bears game, where it's like run the ball. It's like that's all those two teams did was run the ball.
That's all they had, Yeah,
that's either team. I mean, Carson Wentz's hand was broken, so they just were kind of force feeding it to Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, and Fields was running it, and Montgomery and Herbert. It's like that's all they were doing.
There's a guy, another guy, there's a guy. So, but really, how will the NFL please all of these TV outlets? Because really, if we break it down, there's only about 10 teams out of 32 that are worth watching, I think.
but still, people watch no matter what. I think they will. I mean, even the bad games, like that Raiders game, it was worth watching. Just I still think NFL is the draw.
Doesn't matter. Like Monday night next week, Bears, New England. There's not much to see there.
Again, it's the fan bases, though. Those fan bases will
Fervor, fever.
And also, I know we don't talk about it too much. Obviously, the big thing that helps this sport, and actually probably is the main thing that makes this sport go, is the gambling. So even if these
Oh, yeah, there's that.
So,
how could we forget?
So even if you don't really care about these teams, there's a lot of people emotionally invested in these strangers that they decided to drop
adopt.
Drop a G on for whatever reason.
It's more than emotional. It's bank accounts.
So
man.
who was
I
that?
mean,
That was Carl Sagan. Billions and billions of wasn't that Carl Sagan on Johnny Carson? Billions and billions and billions. Okay, what else do we got tonight? We wanted to talk a little college, I know, but finish up the NFL. What?
Any quick notes you have on other games, Lugs?
Little tidbits.
Well, I was just happy to see Pittsburgh win a game.
Yeah.
And, that was cool. So that was my only other note. That was the one I saw.
I guess I'll go through some other ones. The only thing from Rams Panthers to me that's of note is Rams losing their left tackle Joe Noteboom for the season just adds to the downward spiral that is the Rams.
Yeah,
I mean their offense is mediocre.
Yep.
It's not going to get better. They're trying to trade Cam Akers, which I don't think anyone's going to take any takers.
Right.
I mean he's looked bad. On the other team is kind of in a similar situation. Panthers got rid of Rule. They're trying to they're willing to trade Christian McCaffrey. I don't know how many other pieces. I mean, the main piece I think they should keep is Brian Burns, but if not, they should, if they want to trade Brian Burns, they should be able to get like a first round pick for him. Like he's the only guy I think that the teams would be willing to give a first round pick for. I don't know. DJ Moore is very talented, but I think just how bad they've utilized his talent, no one's going to give him more than a second round. I think he's a first round talent, but Cards Seahawks. Again, I know how much Lugs likes going on, like crapping on Kirk Cousins. That's as much as I like crapping on Kingsbury. Kingsbury can only scheme up 9 points against a bad Hawks defense.
Question: he's going to be fired this year, don't you think?
He just
got an extension.
I know,
right?
but they're impatient. These owners.
I agree with Jay Boy. The signing that extension means nothing. Like they're moving on from the quarterback who they extended.
Right.
Kyler
and the
it's
GM.
a lot harder.
Yep.
That's a lot harder. And also Kyler's talented. I know he's got some problems. I know
Yep.
maybe none of us are maybe the biggest fans, but if I'm gonna get rid of one, because obviously constant variable, you have to get rid of one of them to figure out if the other one's a problem.
Right.
I get rid of Kingsbury.
Right.
I
agree.
And
with
then
Kyler had 100 yards running, right, this past game.
Yeah.
So, but how long he's not much bigger than any of us. I mean, he's a small guy, and I give it to him. He throws an amazingly pretty ball.
Yeah.
I mean, it is amazing. So,
First of all, dude, you just took away the whole illusion of the podcast right there. He's no bigger than us. Why?
Yeah.
What compelled you to do that, man?
Yeah, people thought J Boy was like 6'5".
Yeah, Nate Thurmond.
Like it's just doing preacher curls. While we're doing the show.
Me and Nate
preacher
Thurmond,
curls.
man, we could post up. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day.
yeah, right.
Yeah, babe.
Anyway,
back to our story.
Just other quick ones.
Yeah.
Atlanta, Arthur Smith, like Brian Daboll,
Little guys.
not the most talent, but great at scheming. I mean, some of the wins that this Atlanta's team is getting from last year and this year, a lot of it is just smoke and mirrors that it can be consistently done. Usually when you think smoke and mirrors, it'll have short. Arthur Smith always dials up these things. It gets these wins they shouldn't. The Jags, Indianapolis, Matt Ryan. I mean, to ask Matt Ryan to throw it 58 times in a game seems like, but they didn't have Tyler, Jonathan Taylor, or Naeem Hines. And their two young guys are showing out. Pittman and Alex Pierce, their two wide receivers are showing out. Jacksonville, it's crazy how quick NFL can change. It looked like 3 weeks into the season, Jags are going to win the AFC South. Now they're in a tailspin. And similarly, Bengals look like they've bounced back and they're kind of getting right again. And they have they now are back in the possession, I believe, of the AFC North. And
I have one question for you about Bengals. You know personnel. Name me one person on defense for the Bengals. It's like the no-name defense, but they're good. But I don't know anybody.
Oh no, they have a lot of people. They have Hendrickson. They have Hubbard.
Never heard of him.
Henderson was a huge free agent for him 2 years ago for the Saints. In his contract year, he blew up, and usually you worry about that. He's actually kind of really worked. Awuzie, who they picked up, the corner.
Awuzie.
T-Dog, I think Lugs is just get off of my lawn cranky, man. He's just getting cranky. And he's just baiting you with a.
He's getting cranky. No, they're. Oh, you go, J Boy.
No, yeah,
he was just slamming me.
Slamming
because I let people know he's only 5'4", 22 pounds. I'm
about the size of a fishing lure. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, okay.
And it took him going back to Louisiana, but it seems like going back down there got Joe Burrow and Chase right. Chase explodes back in Louisiana. Joe Burrow throws for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. New Orleans, I believe, kind of like to be like a Lugs. I think before the season, I predict them maybe. I don't know if I had them making the playoffs as a wild card. I'm clearly wrong on that. Dennis Allen was not a good head coach before. You thought maybe, he's turned it around, maybe second chance. And we've seen second chances work. This is not one of those cases.
Who was that old Allen, the coach of the Rams forever, Allen? What was his first? He's not the reincarnation of him. Remember who was that old?
When he had the ram skins, he brought everybody from the Rams with him to the Redskins.
Yeah, what was his name? Allen. That old Redskins.
That's a while. That's a while ago.
George Allen. It's George Allen.
George Allen. Thank you. Thanks, G-Dog, and our crack research team. George Allen. He's no George Allen, is what you're saying.
In the last point, just because Lugs brought up the Pittsburgh game, because we didn't talk about the loser in that game, Tampa. Brady
went off.
Brady went off on his and you want to talk about a situation that's really tricky. I think we'd agree in this situation. So it's a big game, correct? I mean, any game, because there's such a small amount of games. He went to Robert Kraft's surprise wedding on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
He missed the team's work or walkthrough on Saturday, and then he played in the game, and then he's chewing out all these guys who were there during the walkthrough and saying they're not playing well.
It's over, isn't it? It's over. He's lost.
You have to. Yeah, that's the thing is you have to worry about the teammates being like, screw this guy, because he was out for like a week, kind of like if we're gonna kill Rodgers for missing part. He missed a huge part of training camp because of it. I would assume his marital strife. We don't know this. We're just kind of speculating. But like these are things you don't do, because on the same token, Bill Belichick declined to go to it. Now he still works for Robert Kraft. He declined to go to this spread. And also, to be fair, why the hell Robert Kraft is the owner of a team? Why is he having a wedding during the NFL football season?
And he's been married like 112 times anyway. So
I don't know. But anyway, that's the last thing I just want to say. Brady, maybe we all don't want to see like a Willie Mays situation. We might be seeing a Willie Mays situation with Brady on the tail end of
the shine
season.
is wearing off. I mean, think about it. He's 45 years old. You got 25, 24-year-old players. That's a generational difference there. And they're saying to this, where's the old guy going? And how come I'm not going? Or what's he doing? I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Lugs?
Well, me and the boys are ice fishing here, and I just dragged in a boot, so.
Hey, okay, let's switch over just for a second. We're still looking for those goalposts from Tennessee and the old Rocky Top, man. What a game, one for the ages, instant classic, without a doubt, and then charging the field. I mean, everything it's meant to be. That was college football.
Well, now I'm going to have to call it here. There was some home cooking, man.
Home cooking.
That one pass interference on that
come on, get over it, man.
That flag came out about. They were already back from commercial when that flag came out. I mean, come on. It would have been over with.
It was just one of those insurance commercials anyway with Jake, wasn't it? I mean, that's all it was.
I mean, I give it to them. But, I don't worry about it. Tennessee's not going to beat Georgia. Georgia will still dominate the East. So it'll be Georgia, Alabama in the game. And no matter what happens, Georgia and Alabama will still be in the playoffs. Tennessee, they got just a great offense. I mean, basically what you saw there was 2 future NFL stars at quarterback, I think. And it was a great game to watch. I wasn't pulling for anybody in particular, but it was just fun to watch.
Yeah, it's I mean, you always want these college games, these big college games to because the atmosphere. This is the one thing I will give college over the NFL. The atmosphere, you could tell just how much the fans are so much more emotionally invested in the outcome in general.
Plus, they've been tailgating for 8 hours.
That doesn't hurt
for a week.
This is true.
Took all classes pass-fail that week just to get going. I saw the greatest camera shot ever. There's a guy riding the goalpost as they're walking it down the 50-yard line, right? And it's a sea of orange. And the camera's got like a 70-1 zoom lens. They're tight on the dude riding the goalpost, and they zoom out, and all you see is orange, man. People everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best shots I've seen in a long time on TV. I mean, zoomed way back.
Yeah, and you got Brad Nessler calling it. So in the presentation, and it's going to be painful for the SEC to leave CBS. I'll just say this as a caveat for the broadcasting presentation.
Agreed.
It's always been impeccable going back to Uncle Vern and Brad Nessler's taking over swimmingly, but
and
I'm
Gary,
going to miss
Gary Danielson, right?
and I know they'll get Big Ten games, but I'm going to miss the SEC on on CBS. I thought they've done a great job, but now onto the game.
Yeah.
I know I'm hating this guy as a draft prospect, and I hate doing it. And I hope he's like one of the highest people. I hope proves me wrong, because I will say this: even in defeat, Bryce Young, if there is a quarterback that has better poise in chaos in college, I think again it goes back to Joe Burrow a few years ago. Bryce Young has that. The play will be breaking him down. He eludes, he moves around, he skates, and again he has athleticism, but mainly he's always just trying to evade the rush to set up the pass. He's never running. Like, he doesn't care to run. He's just trying to set up the pass. Just the coolest guy in college football to watch in terms of just how on point he always is. Hendon Hooker is a good quarterback, but man, Jalen Hyatt, their wide receiver. You want to talk about having a day? He had 6 receptions for 207 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, Alabama could not keep that rub off from going, and he get past the safety. I mean, it was never contested. It was crazy.
Yeah, and to be fair to Lugs' point, I'm not saying that Tennessee didn't get some home cooking, but I think when you look with Alabama, they were probably due for a loss because they haven't looked right all. Obviously they're one of the true contenders still to win the championship, but they have some serious holes that they need to address, and maybe this loss helps to really focus it more. I don't know, but yeah, their secondary has been an issue. Their offensive line, Bryce Young kind of hides it, but their offensive line's not particularly great. And also just none of their wide receivers are particularly, it's crazy to say, since Julio went there, they've almost always had like a stud wide receiver, but it feels like at least this year, and I'm not saying none of these guys won't develop, they're all just green right now. There's no stud wide receiver right now for Alabama.
Yeah. And I think what they have to do is you got to stop getting so many penalties. My goodness. They had 17 penalties in that game and 15 penalties the game before. That's an anomaly for a Nick Saban team. It just is.
And the last thing that definitely sticks in the crawl space of Nick Saban, I believe, going back to the Texas A&M game, which they did win, but obviously in this game it ended up biting them. Reichart, their kicker, I don't know how much longer he might be on that team. He's missing some big kicks for him, and that's not going to sit well with Saban. So
one for the ages. Anything else, fellas?
Well, I was just going to say, a little bit of a note for me. I like listening to sports talk radio, of course, and I really like listening to Dan Issel. The old Kentucky legend, Denver Nuggets all-star.
Sure.
He's crankier than hell, but he's insightful. And he has the best Jimmy Stewart stutter I've ever heard. He goes like, way to go. Way to go. It's
Mr.
Jimmy
Potter.
Stewart.
You silly old fool, Uncle Billy.
So a shout out to Dan Issel. I find you entertaining, my man.
A friend of the show. No doubt, a friend of the show. Anything else, T-Dog?
I got 2 shout-outs. I'll try to keep them quick. Shout out to Delaney Walker, great tight end who played for San Francisco and mainly Tennessee Titans. He retired. I believe today. Just a great player who started his career in the shadow of Davis, the high draft pick out of Maryland, and he was just kind of a backup, and he turned into a quasi star for the Tennessee Titans, in being such a great receiver at tight end. And then the other shout out for a local guy, Jim Irsay.
Calling for Snyder.
Yeah, he's the first GM of a team or owner of a team to publicly say we need to get rid of Daniel Snyder. So props to him for being the guy to at least first say it publicly. So shout out to Jim Irsay.
All right, that'll bring to a close another edition of Three Tall Guys Talking Sports. Brought to you in part by Swindella Bread at 3 in the morning when you're in bed. Why, Swindella, they're baking bread. And there's one guy who wears a baker's hat real well. He's our guy. He's right there.
Our man Fish. And this week, to give fellow Chicago Bears fans something to cheer about, Fish is hosting a Bears trivia extravaganza to honor the birth of the bear of them all, Mike Ditka. Iron Man
Coach.
Mike,
That coach.
as fans lovingly call him, was born this week in 1939 in Carnegie, Pennsylvania. The trivia event will be a tailgating affair. So load your SUV with your favorite beverages and come on down at 1 p.m. this Saturday. Fish and his grill crew will provide the burgers, brats, and assorted condiments. The trivia contest winner will receive a holiday weekend for two at the Extended Stay America in Carnegie with passes for the Carnegie Historical Museum. And you'll get a free black-on-black Bears cap for anyone who says, "Duh, Bears."
Duh, Bears. All right, thanks for another edition of this program. We'll see you next week. God willing, and the creek don't rise. See ya.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
So long.